The Lord be praised. What brings you to me?
I have some news about the investigation.
Good.
The trail leads to Uzhitz. I found out one of the bandits is from...
I see. What else?
That's all I've found out so far, sir.
All right. Come back and report to me as soon as you learn anything new.
Hey, you! Don't move a muscle! You there! Stop! Can't have gone far. Surrender! You've committed a violation. You're under arrest. You're dead. Had enough?
I feel quite hungry. I'll have to get something to eat. I'm starting to get hungry. I feel quite hungry.
Not surprised. Betty was always good with her hands.
What? God be with you.
I'm looking for a fellow who lives here, but I don't know his name. Do you know anyone with a limp?
What would you want with him? Well, it's no skin off my nose. The bastard has a cottage on the edge of the village, by the road to Rattay.
I feel quite hungry.
Move along, citizens. Move along. There's nothing to see here.
If that's what you call nothing to see, I'd like to know what something to see looks like.
By the keys of St. Peter, this is all I need. We'll have to send word to Sir Hanush.
That might not be necessary.
Who are you?
I'm Henry of Skalitz, in the service of Hanush's captain Bernard.
I'm investigating the attack at Neuhof, and I think this could be related.
Well, I'm the bailiff of Auschwitz. And I say we don't want any of that kind of trouble around here. What makes you think this has anything to do with Neuhof?
One of the folk at the stud farm recognized someone from Auschwitz among the bandits.
We have no bandits or murderers around here.
Really? They say he had a limp?
Shit. Well, allow me to introduce you to Limpy Lubosh. Or all that's left of him.
Sacre. Nothing's ever easy. I'll have to take a look around and ask a few more questions, if that's all right with you.
You can take this mess off my hands and welcome to it. As for what else there is to find out, I don't know. But look and ask all you like.
Who was Limpy Lubosh?
A poor crofter and a scoundrel. Can't say he kept company with all sorts of vermin. He was always...
How come he limped?
He got that from some villainy or brawler.
Has he been up to anything suspicious lately?
I don't know. The last few days...
Did he have any kith or kin in the village? Do you happen to know where he was on the night of the Neuhof raid?
I've no idea. He kept his...
When did you find the body? And did anyone see it?
Just now. And nobody saw or heard anything. I don't know how they...
I could do with a bite to eat.
Good health to you.
I've come in the name of Sir Hanush of Lipa.
I don't know nothing about...
That man Lubosh who was murdered, what was he like?
I didn't really know him.
Have you noticed anything suspicious?
Oh, come to think of it, he was in church yesterday. He was even... I was wondering what he was up to take to the faith all of...
Do you know what Lubosh was?
I was coming from the... He looked like he...
Do you know anyone Lubosh?
Not with anyone...
That's all. Thank you. I'll have to get something to eat. I'm starting to get hungry. The blessings of our good Lord be with you. Can I ask you a few questions?
It seems Sir Hanush is employing children as investigators.
Did you know Lubosh? What was he like?
Bit of a lost soul. Simple, rough fellow, but at heart I don't think...
Did you notice anything suspicious recently?
My child, all sorts of suspicious things have been going on recently. People like Lubosh don't know what to do about it, and sometimes they do stupid things.
That's really not a lot of help to me, Father.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Do you know what Lubosh was doing on the day Neuhof was raided?
Unfortunately, I do know, and I'd like to help you with your
What?
I'm bound by certain vows that forbid me to...
Vows more important than catching dangerous...
There are laws of God above the laws of man, son, and one of those is...
Father, surely you can't be serious. There must be situations in which you can make an exception.
There are things that apply always, no matter what the circumstances. And
But Lubosh is dead. You can't hurt him, but...
if I told you, I would be betraying a vow that's a cornerstone. If people believed the sanctity of the confessional couldn't be trusted, the consequences would be even worse.
Worse than the death of innocent Christians? Worse than the murderer escaping...
No one escapes punishment.
Father, Lubosh was my only lead to the Neuhof raiders. If I don't find out who it was, it will probably happen again. Surely you would...
I wouldn't. But I can't betray the sanctity of the Suppose we talk it over in the evening, in the tavern, over a...
All right.
Be a bit more careful.
I'm sorry I can't tell you everything. But first I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom do I have the honor? Where are you from?
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh. I'm sorry.
They're dead.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Here, we'll drink to them. It must have been terrible.
It was terrible. It seemed so pointless, and we had no warning. They just appeared, God knows why. They killed anyone who didn't make it to the shelter of the castle. I didn't make it to the castle. I wanted to try and help my parents, but there was nothing I could do. Then I fled to Talmberg with the Cumans on my heels. They almost killed me. They slaughtered people in the surrounding villages. There was a pile of bodies in front of the church in Rovna. Folk who tried to take refuge there, but they...
My poor child. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Uzhitz.
Ah, well, now the most important thing. What actually...
The rumours aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhoff, I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandit...
I see it's every bit as bad as people claim. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointlessly and...
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. You don't look much like our... Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now let's get down to business. So, about this confessional seal. Do you...
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions. If people stop believing in the church because their confession...
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those cutthroats will strike again, and I can't stop them.
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But, first thing tomorrow, I'll try something I think might help you.
Word of honor?
On my soul.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation.
Well, Uzhitz isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people.
Our priest wasn't...
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. A tongue lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And especially if they're about fornication and sin.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague. I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who... I'm thinking about putting it in my own...
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus, the lamentable wealth in which the church is drowned. Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to... They know no mercy. Their hearts are... You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have... What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor that... While Jesus Christ walked bare... Look to your consciences, you robbers. Amen.
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a rebel.
Oh, the congregation will love it.
I don't doubt it.
Let's drink to that.
Funny. That last bit reminds...
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm no better off than the folk I preach. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them.
Don't you think it's a bit odd when...
No, I don't.
What do you think of this?
He's certainly a wise man. If he got out of Prague...
Where can I find out more about his...
You like it? I copied down some of it.
What do the common folk think of it?
They like it. They're happy to hear someone say, in a few years it'll have...
Yeah, unless they burn him.
Nonsense.
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been morally up... Oh, it's getting quite late.
What do you suppose? We have a drink.
Ah, that sounds like...
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Enough of this!
Bailiff, come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you.
You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up.
Come on, then, bailiff.
Come here, Lily Lip. I'm gonna cry.
That's the best you can do.
Oh dear, did that
So, my dear, would you like to have a little ring on the bell? No sooner said than done.
I'd love to. And Henry, too, I'm sure.
Right, Henry. Stop that nonsense, Godwin. Are you out of your mind? What will people say?
They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? Watch the step, my dear. Careful, you don't hurt yourself.
Godwin, you're a buffoon.
I could do with a bite.
Here we are. Look at this beauty.
Oh. We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This is wonderful.
Ah, bloody oath. And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here. Oh.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own?
What the hell? Hey. Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Godwin, you beast! Get up! Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards!
Oh, fucking hell. Where the... Oh, what the... Oh, who the hell are you?
Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on in my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Wait, before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
What the fuck was it? Oh.
Mass!
Oh shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me.
I'd like to help you, but...
You can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look. From what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
So all at once the confessional seal isn't set.
Don't mock me.
We'll never get away with it.
Not if you make a hash of it. No, neither can I.
What do you want me to do?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yes. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well, I'll tell you what.
Christ almighty. Fine then.
Wonderful.
Be a bit more.
Hey, watch it. I'll remember you. What? Jesus, look where you're going.
Damn it, I'm hungry.
Come on, Henry.
never show up. The swill pup.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait.
Look at him. Mother of God, any minute now he'll throw up.
I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hac facite in meam commemorationem. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the point. I'd like to talk about the church and how corrupt it is.
That boy has a cheek.
One should not believe in the church, because the church is not God. God is above all things, and the church is but a means to salvation, which the prelates do not care to hear.
He's right.
It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune on our heads. Plague, cumens, hunger, and chaos. The accursed wealth that the church is drowning in is poisoning almost the whole of Christendom. When dogs are fighting over a bone, take the bone and they will stop. Just like the flock of ravens that has descended on this land to peck up every speck of gold and silver. They show no mercy. Their hearts are poisoned by covetousness. They trade everything. Everything is for sale. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay, and you will have absolution. And the prelates sin and give themselves absolution.
For shame, shame upon them.
It is the custom of the gluttonous prelates and monks to preach against sin. But what do they know of us ordinary folk? Let us remember the marriage at Cana, where our Lord Jesus Christ himself feasted with the other guests and drank his fill. And when the wine was gone, he performed a miracle and created more. He, whose companions were poor travellers, simple folk, prostitutes and troublemakers, performed a miracle so the feast could continue.
Now that's the kind of sermon I like to hear.
No, brothers and sisters, Jesus did not condemn alcohol. Drink to lighten the cross you bear in this vale of tears, but not with such abandon that you cannot keep holy the Sabbath. For there should be moderation in all things, and it is not drinking itself that is sinful, but intemperance and beastly indulgence.
He's right.
Enough about sin. which the prelates are so fond of preaching about, and whose absolution they promise if you only pay enough coin to Mother Church. What if the devil himself were to pay? Will the bishops tell us he too would ascend to heaven? And what about those bishops? They sin without remorse, and with the money grasped from the poor for indulgences, they keep fine horses and hordes of servants to pamper them. They play dice and garb their mistresses in expensive furs, while Christ, the Lamb of God, walked barefoot and had nowhere to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too.
Down with the prelates! Away with them!
We're fortunate to have our good Father Godwin. At least he's a fair and simple man.
God sees what is happening on earth, and he is filled with righteous wrath that those who should seek the salvation of souls instead seek mammon and the idle comfort of lucrative posts. Blessed are the shepherds who share the poverty of their flock, who are as one with you and bear with you the burden of this earthly pilgrimage, who do not condemn your venial sins.
Aye, all honour to Godwin. Let him drink like one of us.
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
The lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is.
He's right, that huss.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a silver
Glad he
tongue.
came here. I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague. He told it nicely.
Well, well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, I noticed. I wasn't the only one.
Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow.
So, about our bargain.
Although it's a sin.
So gluttony and fornication.
God does forgive a penitent.
So, what did Limpy Lubosh tell you? Was he at Neuhof that day? Who was with him? And where are they now?
Now, slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much.
Don't let me down after all I've been through. For you...
Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs. And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled.
Fell out?
Yeah, there was a body found in the woods by Neuhof.
That would explain something. Lubosh kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it.
So I know that Lubosh killed the murderer and he's dead too. The trouble is, I need to find the ones who are still alive. I need names and places. Did he mention any of the others?
Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, Timmy.
Pius. That lot are about as pious as I am ordained.
Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right?
Well, we'll have to now. There's not much else to go on. Let's hope he's not hanging from the wall too.
Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try. Although I'm not sure I'd survive another night of your debauchery.
And if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything.
I don't doubt it.